everyone out there, and welcome back to Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets. It's The Mix, powered by Mayo Media Net here on YouTube, presented by Jock Market, the Daily Fantasy app where we actually make money, and we were doing it again. Yeah, download that bad boy for free. Use the promo code MMN. They're going to match that first $100 for free. If it's free, it's for me. Doing the things we do right here on the show. Thank you everyone so much for sticking around and picking up what we're putting down. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the audio-only pod. And in a minute, after I deserve it, I've been up for a while, I'm going to ask you to stick your cartoon finger right up inside me because those YouTube likes just matter way more than they should. All right, yesterday was pretty good, throwing our weight around the Jock Market, like I said, using the tools that we're bringing you here on the main slate. I love the big board, allowing us to take advantage of some of those values, but it all starts here on the mix with some analysis, man. Enough of that. We need more of this. It's the fastest show in NFL absolutely anywhere. I mean, jeez, if you could listen to this show at 2 times speed, like, wow, hat tip, all the power to you. I don't know, I feel like I probably sound like a solid tone at 2 times. Like, beep. All right, come on, man, let's get up and do the thing we do, me and you, the Corks, that's crew. It's the Blue Chips, brought to you by Jock Market. We're using Run the Sims projections. Love, love, love. Capital L on the forehead, L for love. Love that stuff. Again, I've mentioned it before. You got to go over and check it out. It's really worth the sub because they allow you to fine-tune projections, and I think that's what you want to be doing. You don't want to do them on your own because it's very difficult. You also don't want to just blanket subscribe to them universally because other people are doing that and you want to separate. So I think they have a really great edge here. These are the top projected players on each team, top 5. It's the Ravens and the Saints. Monday night foosball here, week 9. Let's go. Lamar Jackson at the top of the board, 20.4. A tremendous drop down. Whee! All the way down to Kenyon Drake. With Gus Edwards is out, so Drake should be leading the way, although in these situations I more think Lamar is still the RB1 there. That projection is at 10.9. Drop down to my boy Isaiah Likely, more like Isaiah definitely. They're out of options. On offense, he's projected for 10 points. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Then Double D, Devin Duvernay at 10 points, drop down to Justice Hill, the backup at 6.1. To give you an idea, again, for the audio-only listeners, these numbers, we have an image. You could grab it, download it, and refer to it. Definitely recommend that. I like to more read this as a board more than the numbers themselves and let the projections tell you the story. So for the Ravens, obviously Lamar Jackson is all the way at the top. He's the dual threat. He handles the ball all the time. Whenever they find themselves in close games, he becomes the focal point. It makes a lot of sense. This projection is like a lollipop, right? It's all at the top and then a giant stick at the bottom. And then even when you talk about Drake, a guy who's been very hit or miss, getting it done on very big explosive plays, we've also seen him get volume and do, as you know, we say, Laghezza. Just absolutely, he's like negative nothing. Hold on, I have that one here. I know he's got one that just, it's like hilarious. It's hilarious. And he had 11 carries for 5 yards against Cleveland. Yes, he was a lot better against the Giants and a lot better against Tampa, but just remember, it's Kenyon Drake. There's a reason why he's been on 7 different teams. Then over to the Saints, the single highest projection on the board is Alvin Kamara. Remember, Mark Ingram is out. So he is the dual threat on the Saints. And if you're watching those games, he looks like the best player on the field whenever he touches the ball. I was never a big kind of Kamara guy for fantasy coming into the season. I was just worried with Jameis Winston more, right? They were leading with Jameis, and he likes to, play the YOLO ball, which is great for fantasy, but not so great for Kamara. We saw that play out when they made the shift to the Red Rocket. Wow, Kamara just really took off. Dalton has shifted his game. He's very smart. He's a cerebral player. So he understands, let's put the ball in the hands of the best player, which is so funny. That very simple mantra is something lost on a lot of these teams. So let's get back into the projections. Kamara, 22.5, above Lamar Jackson. Keep that in mind. Down to Andy Dalton at 16.2, to Olave. Whoa, 16.1. Gotta love that he's been an absolute target hog. To Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith, both with the double 7.7, which to me, again, right, if we were having these speak to us, what does that say? Complete uncertainty with a tremendous drop-off. And now you'd have to decide between the two of them, right? So I think there's always a kind of a lesson where this is reading between the lines a bit, where you don't want to just react. And again, the blind subscription to projections that I mentioned before, it's funny, it's a two-edged sword because it has sharpened the market at large, right? It's making people smarter, which is why cash teams are doing so much better because in general, people are better at identifying the best plays. But at the same time, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy of chasing projections. Yes, listen, I got beat up in props. A lot of people did. People that chased projections. So projections were way off. And, guys like Higgins and Ramondre, guys that were totally popping, that we were all over, went face down and didn't really do much. Romeo Dobbs, the same, although he got hurt. He had a 20-yard catch in the first drive. He was going to go over 60 yards. The yards went off. Anyway, to the understanding and reading of the tea leaves. So it looks like we have the books, the projections, right? Because these things are based off Vegas lines. Expecting a ton of action from Lamar. He's going to be doing a little bit of looking at the tight ends, the rest of the looking at Duvernay. And then the Saints are going to be doing lots of dump offs to Kamara. Remember, these are point projections, then it's pretty much filtered to Olave. Let's do the handicapping in this one. These stats are year to date. And then I want to drop some last four defense. I think that's really important when you're looking at defense in particular to look for a trajectory found in last four. Injuries and schematics, these things tend to change, right? Look at the Bears offense is probably a perfect example how small samples opposed to year-to-date. Bears offense and every year-to-date stat is completely trash. You don't want to face the Bears right now because they've adjusted, right? And teams are going to adjust. Good teams are going to adjust to their strengths. Not all teams do. Like I said, the Saints going to Dalton, who's going to Kamara, they have shown positive strength. I think that might be like a metric that maybe we're not thinking about enough. Like who actually makes in-season improvements? That is really important. All right, let's do the thing. It's the Ravens and the Saints. So Ravens offense, putting up good numbers, 26 points a game, 360 yards per game, 5.9 yards per play. Those are all in the top third. And, it's on a bit of efficiency, but it's all through the run game. And I think, again, when you see those stats, those are all really delicious. Even the drive stats, 35 yards a drive, more than 3 minutes. That's at benchmark for being really good. 73% drive success rate. This is the Ravens on offense. Those are all really good. But it's being carried by the run game. Again, one of the reasons you got to be careful with DVOA, which I absolutely love. I've been trying to combine it with I just try and do everything. Combining it with EPA plus stats to draw more clear description. All right, I want to pick my words carefully. So Ravens have one of the best pass DVOAs in the league. But when you look at the totals, it's 29 attempts per game, 18 and a half completions for 194 yards. Those are all in the bottom. That's not going to get it done, right? So you have people, we're playing for very high pass DVOA, and this other team doesn't have a good pass defensive DVOA. You got to be careful with that kind of matchup. It's a stylistic thing because of Lamar's dynamic ability, his ability to get away, escapability, break down plays. Then he's very good and has a rocket arm and a rocket for legs, right? So he's a rocket man. Oh, rocket man. That opens up pathways where we've seen the Ravens hit on big plays. Problem is, no Mark Andrews. Now, maybe he does get a 1v1 replacement for Isaiah Likely, and that's what I was alluding to before. If you believe we get that, forget that Likely projection. Double it, triple it, put him up there with, whatever. Put Mark Andrews there, because really that's what we've seen. Okay, on the flip side, the Saints defense has been very good, and they've been tightening up more as of late. They're also in particular very tough against the run. Saints against the run, minus 9% rush DVOA, 25 attempts for 112 yards, under 4.5 running back yards per attempt. So there is a bit of strength versus strength. Remember, the Ravens not as good with the conventional run game. I imagine the Saints will be spying Lamar in this one, and it'll be his ability to get out to Likely, who I have a lot of faith in, and Duvernay, who I have a little less faith in. They just haven't shown that kind of efficiency. All right, other side of the ball, it's the Saints on offense, and it's a mixed bag. Again, the overalls looking pretty strong. 25 points a game, 65 plays, 395 yards, 6 yards per play. Those are all very good. A lot of it is on the back of Kamara, and that rush game, 11% positive rush DVOA, 5 adjusted line yards. That's near the top of the board. 28 attempts for 140 on the ground. But the running back yards per attempt and the rush TDs, I don't think are enough to carry the pass stats that we've seen. 11 yards per completion, less than 2 pass TDs per game. This is the Saints' passing offense. It's not really there. Again, those totals are coming on the back of Kamara, especially as of late. The Kamara totals are like ridiculous, right? Hold on, I have it right here. So Kamara pass stuff, last couple weeks just really going crazy, right? So from this going back the last 4 weeks, so versus Seattle, 6 catches, versus Cincinnati, 6 catches, Arizona, 7 catches, Las Vegas, 9 catches for 91, 25, 56, 96, and 2, right? So being careful with talking about efficiency and how good passing, right? We tend to binary bin these things. They're good or they're bad. Got to be careful doing that. The Saints offense is good, but it's very specific. So is the Ravens, just in different ways. But both of the defense have been good as far as the front seven goes. This one's probably going to come down to who's a more efficient passer. I'm not so sure. They're both worrying me a little bit. Both of these defenses run a lot of zone, and both of these quarterbacks are much better against man. I think Olave and Dalton in particular have like superstar numbers against the man, not so much versus the zone. Doesn't mean you're not going to be able to do it. I just think this is going to be more of a Kamara game for the Saints. You know, we've seen them force the ball to Olave and just not necessarily get it done, right? He does have floor games. The injuries in the Ravens secondary are starting to correct. So I know people have been going after that like a rabid dog. You can't necessarily do that as a blanket thing. All right, let's see if we can wrap this up really quick. So Saints offense is good, balanced, but flawed because of specific. Ravens defense, they have struggled, but I think that's the reason why I want to bring up the last 4. Okay, so Ravens defense on the season, 64 plays, 365 yards, allowed minus 0.05 EPA per snap. Those are all really bad, allowing a 73% drive success rate. Again, very bad. They've been good against the pass, but leaky against the pass. Good against the run, leaky against the pass. Season stats: 39 attempts, 26 completions for 278 yards. They have kept the yards per completion down around 10, which is pretty good. Yards per attempt below 7. Which is kind of average, right? So not all the stats necessarily line up, and I think that was more the greater point I was bringing to handicapping football, which is so difficult because of the nuance and the context that comes with all this stuff. Last 4, okay, that was the difference that I wanted to draw up, the stark difference. The Ravens have looked a lot better. Last 4 from the Ravens, 60 plays a game, 303 yards allowed, only 5.1 yards per play. Those are like top 5, right? So you got to be careful there because they have just smushed the run, allowing 85 yards rushing per game, less than 4 yards per attempt. They're very tough up the middle right now, pairing that, allowing 218 pass yards per game, less than 11 yards per reception. So Ravens defense has looked pretty good. They kind of stopped blitzing, and they're one of those teams doing a ton of this too high stuff. So expect to see the too high, expect to see the high shell, expect to see Dalton maybe struggle against the zone a bit and look more for Kamara. So that's my narrative again, that thing I always mention. I'm running a bit long on the blue chips, but forgive me. Again, it's only a showdown, so we'll be able to tie in a lot of the value with the lessons that we're drawing up here. Ravens defense, not the doormat that you see overall. Saints defense last 4 has also been very good, right behind them, right behind the Ravens. 55 plays a game, 313 yards, all very good. Keeping opponents at 2 minutes and 35 seconds to drive, that's top 5. And smushing rushing as well, 100 yards a game. Passing has been efficient against them without the totals. So maybe that does work in Lamar's favor, right? Looking to maybe have a couple of breakdown plays where it goes. So let's put a bow on the blue chips. This should be a good one. We have some strengths with some superstar players. I really, really like Jackson, obviously, to be the top player. But after I think it's likely, I think that's the big blue chip, but also maybe the big value. Again, we'll have that nuanced segue into the next part. Flip to the Saints. For me, it's Kamara. I don't think we're going to get a Dalton volume game. So for me, it's Kamara, less so to Olave. I like Olave, but I'm worried that the pricing is going to be a bit crazy. All right, so there's our segue. Thank you, and rate, review, and subscribe. The blue chip section, bringing the heat as always. I mean, I just rip the cord. I never know exactly where these things are going to go. I don't draw up lines or notes or funny things to say. I just put all my work in front of me, knowing I've studied, and then I just kind of do my professorial kind of presentation. So if you're picking up what we're putting down here, give me that like, man. Nom, 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 nom. I just eat cartoon likes for breakfast. You eat cartoon likes for breakfast? All right, man. Let's get the ball into the red zone and score it. Coming up, the penny stock section. But first, let me just get a quick breath, because that was pretty difficult, man. Wow. All right, we're back with the second pillar of profit. It's your penny stocks, brought to you by Jock Market. We're going to have to giddy up through this a little bit, but that's okay because we covered a lot of the expectations here. We'll dive into some of the utilization stats for the pass catchers. I think we covered the quarterbacks pretty well. Again, audio-only listeners, get over to Twitter at John Laghezza or Mayo Media Network. Grab this data. It's very helpful. Not only seeing all of it at once, and no one else is doing this work. This is the preeminent Jock Market show. I'll say it during this section every single episode. No one is doing the combination of conventional DFS with Jock Market the way that we are. I ended up dropping like over a G in Jock Market. I loved so many values, and I think I came away 30th overall with about $100 profit. But again, it wasn't necessarily great. My profit about 10%, and you just kind of move forward. I love playing Jock Market. I just think the freedom with drawing up your own ticket is the key. I've been adjusting personally to the opening of the slates and the main slate. And again, as we get better, we're going to get better. Right, that's how it goes. So, Lamar Jackson and Andy Dalton, before we move on totally from quarterbacks, I think there's the value lesson here, the one thing we always mention, and I get the feedback on. People saying, yeah, that's a good one, man. Value does not equal price. Just because something's cheap doesn't make it a value. Value is a rate stat, right? If I meet you on the street and you mention that to me, I know you're watching the show. So Lamar Jackson projected for 20.4, 12.4 salary, leaves you with $607 per point. Andy Dalton, 16.2 projection at 10.2 salary, leaves you with $629. So although, again, I'm not going to start, look how different. They're extremely similar. I'm not going to start preaching to overreact to decimal points now. However, they're similar enough to call it even. You can't compare Lamar to Andy. Don't convince yourself that Dalton is the value. Dalton is not the value here. Lamar Jackson is the value. He also has the 40-point ceiling. I know we haven't seen it in a bit. I do think, though, good rushing defenses are beneficial for Lamar's running game, which is the best thing for something like Jock Market, because running quarterbacks is a selfish gain, right? He gets it and gets it alone. There's no sharing. There's no receptions or touchdowns or anything like that. So we saw that yesterday. That was the one prop I had to happen to hit. Josh Allen over rush yards. His alt prop went over because the Jets are a very good defense, and if you have a mobile quarterback against a good defense, expect him to capitalize and break down. So, Lamar rush props are all good today, all that stuff. But so Lamar value over Andy Dalton. Into the running backs we go, which is Justice Hill, Alvin Kamara, and then Kenyon Drake in that order. Hill putting up the big time value. And I'm not sure we know exactly what we're going to see from that backfield. Guys, I split my running back usage into 4 weeks. I'm noticing, God, the way the injuries go, 4 weeks doesn't even really do it. So we just look at the last two, because Gus dominated the last 2 weeks, but then he got hurt and I was out. So it was Drake had 11 for 5 against Cleveland, like I mentioned, 11 total touches against Tampa. He was very efficient, and he got in the end zone through the air. Justice Hill had 4 carries for 28. We've seen that from him. He's been pretty explosive. So without Drake, if that goes to Hill, I think I can definitely back Hill as a value here. I think I'm digging that one. Again, I have last 4 stats. Justice Hill he hasn't been great. The totals are not going to be there. We know that. The touch per snap, percentage of rushes. However, 9 attempts for 54 yards. He's gotten goal to go snaps, 6 yards per carry, 5.11 yards after contact per rush. The yards before contact per rush have been poor. But you pop that up, he's been very good. 67% drive success rate, 11% explosive rush rate for Justice Hill. So Justice Hill is my Jock Market value, because I think the usage in that backfield is murky, and I don't think Drake is necessarily that good. I do think he'll lead the backfield, but given the fact that Jackson runs also, that's my smash. And then Kamara is just the GOAT. He's the man. Again, reflected in the 80% ownership. The $15.85 IPO, if that sticks, might be the first time I think a $15 IPO is a steal. I don't see how Kamara is not one of the top 2 players, so anything under 20 should be a profit here for Alvin Kamara. Again, this game is a lollipop. It's Jackson, it's Kamara, and then for me it's a whee all the way off. So give me Kamara and Justice Hill. I'm off of Drake. I'm not going to pay $9.23 for a guy I don't think is very good. Into the wide receivers we go. Let's get through this as quick as possible. The Saints trade pack, Traquan, Olave, and Callaway. Man, this is a tough one. I think the value lesson stands again with Callaway. Callaway's cheap. He's a value. Well, his cost per point's at $5.97, higher than Olave at $4.34. Olave, the IPO near $12, gets a bit tough because, again, I am worried about the volume. I'm not going to back off that. The 8.6 DK, I think, makes Olave a must. So, again, where we try to bring together that overlap between conventional DFS play and Jock market. Again, you know I'm playing. I'm in the JM streets. I understand the game. And I hopefully, in the next couple of years, as it moves to the 4, we'll be the people really at the tip of the spear with the understanding as new people come in and then open up even more edge, right? Right now, I think we're in a time, this kind of period of Jock market where the people playing are smart. The people playing understand that's where smart people are playing. And I think it's very sharp right now. So we got to get really popular. We got to get this to the mainstream and get some donkeys. Right? Talk about honesty, man. Oh, man, I got that pouring out the nose. Let's do a little utilization for those Saints in case you were wondering. Of course, so this is the last 4 games. Of course, it's Olave, the target hog, 27 targets, 16 catches, 212 and 1. 21% of the team targets, 29% of the team air, 30% target per route run, 2.36 yards per route run. That's Chris Olave, elite. The other number here, kind of jumping off the page that I'm not seeing on this board, and again, you're looking down at the bottom, the tight end is likely. You got to keep your eye on Juwan Johnson. Check out the usage stats. Just thick now with Troutman out for long enough for these stats to kind of catch up even to the last 4. He's run more routes than Olave. So this is Juwan Johnson with more routes than Olave. Routes on 72% of dropbacks, 12 of 17 for 100 yards and 2 scores, 13% of the team targets. The air yards are going to be low, but the 16% target per route run is pretty good for a tight end that we don't really think of as this kind of pass catcher. And we've even seen him now move. He's had 30% of those snaps in the slot. So I know I jumped a little bit to the tight ends, but we could just call them pass catchers. Keep your eye on Juwan Johnson. I'd much rather have him than Callaway or Traquan Smith, who if I strip the names off, you probably lean towards Johnson. If you were looking for depth, maybe it's Callaway. He does have the 12 air yards per target, but he has less than 0.7 yards per route run. So like that can absolutely have you running for the hill. So let's tack on Juwan Johnson onto this value ticket. Let's look at the Baltimore Ravens really quick. Usage in the pass catching there. I don't know what you call it, the wide receiver room. Let's call it Andrews. You got to strip away him. So after that, it's Duvernay, right, with no Bateman. God, it is really, really rough for the Ravens. So Duvernay, the usage is there. 102 routes. 102 routes. Rudes. 76% of dropbacks. He's run a route. Earned the most targets on the team. 12 receptions of 19 for 141. That's just shy of 12 yards per reception. 18% of the team targets, 23% of the team air yards. These are all in the lead. 19% target per route run. Now remember, this is without Andrews. 30% target per route run, 2.5 yards per route. When you strip away Andrews, you're just going to get this crazy use. So I think that has to bring us to likely. And the point I mentioned at the beginning, to let's put a bow on what I love so much about this game. My favorite play is Isaiah Likely. With the usage we saw is just ridiculous. So I believe that Lamar Jackson leads the league in tight end percentage. Yes, he does. He targets tight ends 41% of the time. That is like the league lead by far. And we see this play out with the love of Mark Andrews. But when he came out, we saw Likely come in, and he is a beast. So this is just last week. Again, you're getting all the nuance and the context I could possibly split in stomach. I think I'm getting a little better at presenting it too as the year goes on. My first time doing football for the public. 81% of dropbacks he ran a route, earned 7 targets, 6 catches for 77 and 1. Remember, that was after Andrews had soaked up 5 catches for 33 on 5 targets. You add those together. Lamar went to the tight end 12 times. That was 9 for 110 and 1. It's just ridiculous, but Likely had 21% of the team targets last week, 31% of the team air yards targeted on 21% of his routes, posted a 2.25 yard per route run, plus 9 air yards per target. I mean, that is like all the good thickness you could ask for. So I really, really like that matchup for sure. Give me like all the Likely. My worry here is that the $8 IPO we see is going to end up nearly double that. So that's my worry. I'm going to cut my parameter for Isaiah Likely at that 1250 mark. Again, I'm not going to go heavy, maybe just a share or two. Looking forward, the reason I say 1250, again, I almost derailed myself. $25 is the top return. I think at 1250, giving yourself a 2-to-1 chance, right? I mean, a pop at the 2-to-1 with 24 players on the slate. Remember, as a tight end, you still have to be number one. You have to get the $25. You got to beat Lamar, who you're catching the ball from and also runs, and you got to beat Alvin Kamara on the other side. So again, that 1250 is profitable up to fourth place. I got this right here on the showdown. Fourth place is $12. That's cutting it a little close. So I think at 1250 you really need to get third, which is $16 in a viable profit, right? Nothing crazy, but again, you really want to be in the top two. That would be the hope for Isaiah Likely. Duvernay, again, we're getting the use. We're going to see Prochet today, but it's very kind of wonky. You know, we just haven't seen a lot of it. A lot of times there are reasons these players, haven't seen the light of day. Prochet's 50 routes in the last month. It's just very weak. Last week I have it. He did have 3 catches, 424 yards. He ran 29 routes. I mean, that's what's going to be. These are all kind of mediocre, less than a yard per route run, the 12 air yards per target, pretty decent. So he's going to be the guy they look at for the intermediate to deeper look. So boom, there's your penny stocks. Let's bow it up real quick. Lamar is the value at QB. Kamara and Justice Hill are the values at wideout. Olave, depending on the IPO, and then it's the tight ends, both tight ends. Give me Likely and Juwan Johnson are probably the best values on the slate. If Duvernay does not meet the $9 IPO, I could see going with him as well. But a lot of times these IPOs are low. They're just low because, again, it's rational exuberance takes over. It's not DK with set pricing, which we're into. But sometimes it just means, part of being sharp in Jock market is knowing when to say no. And, that's part of it, right? There are slates where I don't get the shares I want because I didn't get the price I want. So it doesn't mean I didn't like the player. It means I didn't like the price. And again, that's part of what separates us from those DFS players. Yeah, baby. So if that didn't earn a like, I don't know what will. Please, blah, 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 like button. Blah, 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 like button. Blah, blah, blah. So I know that's what it sounds like sometimes. I feel like the very same. I hate asking for it, but I also hate when some of my favorite shows get canceled because they didn't get enough likes. And you go, man, I wish I pressed a cartoon finger. So you do just that. Let me catch my breath. I got a nice prayer prop for you, and we'll punch this bad boy in the end zone. Alrighty, here we go. It's a Week 9 Monday Night Football proper, brought to you by the lovely ladies and gentlemen at Jock Market and Mayo Media Network. What a lovely family to work with. It's been just a blast for me. I'm kind of a square peg. I don't fit into many holes, and hat tip to my dude, Patty Mayo is just the man, kind of letting me do my thing, right? Because that's my whole thing. If I can't do my thing, I'm not going to do it. So let's get it done for the people out there. It's Alvin Kamara. I have just an old prop. I have ATL. Of course. It's plus 50 receiving yards. All that stuff is correct at plus 154. Again, very transparent. Always my thing. I had been putting leans because the bets that I wanted weren't up. I'm very honest about this stuff. This one I'm live on. This one I have bet. This one I'm going to put on my betting record, which you can find on Patreon. Even after yesterday, we're still ahead somehow, but it's barely. Such is life for the handicapper. Again, why I always stress discipline. And not just how people say that, did you know you have to have a process? I love that. And you say, wow, what is it? They have no idea. There is no process. There is no. The fake touts process is just to say that there's a process without having a process. So let's do it real quick. Our process of why we matter and why we sustain through ups and downs, because we use daily risk allotment. I like to set no more than 3 to 3.5% for NFL. Baseball, I go a little bit lower because it's every day. So let's say 3.5%. So that's if a unit is 1%, 3.5% is 3.5 units. Split that up among a million bets, right? And you can bet 0.00021 units on something and have as many bets as you want and still be responsible. I put this into play yesterday. Again, I did not have a good weekend. I like to be very clear, but I had 9 bets. But rather than, where weekends where I had 4 bets and bet 0.5, I didn't bet half a unit on each of the 9 plays to take me up above my maximum. I divided backwards. So I think we went 0.35 times 9 to get us around the 3 units. And that's how you could see why, again, even if you get smoked, you lose a percentage. You lose a set percentage that you've pre-calculated from your account, right? That you should not be pulling from in and out. Boom. Oh, man, how about that for a lesson? Press the like button, man. Who's giving away? You pay for that stuff. All right, so the prop that we're supposed to be talking about is Alvin Kamara going over 50 receiving yards. I think we drew up how we get there. So the game log is there, right? The game log has our back. The trend is our friend. Andy Dalton also heavy targeting of running backs. He might even be leading the league right now. I could sort this really quick. Andy Dalton, this is running back. This is on the season. Andy Dalton is the fourth highest targeter of running backs, and it's been picking up more as of late. I mentioned the Kamara game log going back 4 games. He's had 6, 7, and 9 catches. He's gone over this 50 mark in 3 of the last 4. He's gone over 90 in 2 of the last 4. You may even want to add to this, and let's make that the wrap up before we get out of here. So the play is Kamara. We're looking for alt receiving yards plus 50. You can find those out there. You can hit me up on a link. DK is adding alt props now. That's where it's at, and we'll get into the lesson just why. Oh gosh, people, betting is about the odds. Okay, begin to understand, no matter how smart you feel, no matter how strong your model result is, most of, if not all of these results are much closer to 50% than we want to admit it, right? So the best way to capitalize on that, bet on things with a plus in front of them. And then that way, if you are 50%, you're going to be wildly profitable. And you can be profitable betting under a 50% win rate, which I know for a fact I was. And again, I talk about this stuff very open. I mean, beyond open. I had a losing record on props, and we're making money because the props are all plus 150, plus 190, plus 200. Think about it. Sustainable activity paired with the allotment, the risk management I mentioned, is the true path to sustainability. Why I've been able to do this at very high levels and stuff. Although I have other sources of income, I don't like to paper over that. I bet at a high level. It's not my only source of income. It's a source of income, right? But you don't want to rely on this stuff, people. Trust me. Something I know a lot about. If you have 2 bets on any given slate, weekend, day, whatever, and you bet in props at minus 110, you kind of have to hit them both. You have to hit them both to make money, right? If you hit one and you lose one, you're not up if you bet the same. What's the point of that? You might then, like, if you run with that logic, then you might as well parlay them, and you might as well bet a lot less, which is a smarter way to play than minus 110. But you really don't want to pair outcomes. Parlaying is kind of a loser's execution. I hate to be like that. It's the truth. There again, if you believe, again, I don't just say stuff. If you believe that each event is closer to 50% that we want to admit, they're very hard to pair, right? And if you can get these bets at plus money on their own, that's what you want to be doing. Get your plus 150 on a single bet rather than get your plus 150 needing multiple outcomes. Again, path to sustainability. If you have 2 bets that are both plus 150 and you hit one, you made a lot of money. You know what I mean? By percentage, you do really well, and that's a key. So, if you're going to bet props, which I love, bet the alt props. Go for the better odds, because a lot of times these guys don't clear by a yard. You know, the ones that we hit, we're hitting. You know, we have the track record. They hit by 30, 40 yards. Like, look at the Kamara prop. He hit 150 by a couple, but that was the alt anyway. The other one's up over 90. So you could take a piece, right? Again, if we're going to talk in these decimal points, where I have 0.40, I know it's kind of boring, but this is how you win, on the 150. Maybe if that was your allotted risk, 0.40, maybe you put 0.30 on this one. You put 0.05 on plus 60, you put 0.05 on plus 70. Keep your risk the same. If you hit the original, it's a profit, but you open your way to progress. Bam, man. Oh my gosh. I don't have 100% like buttons. Yours are out, man. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just kidding. Love you so much. That'll do it, man. Thanks so much for picking up what we're putting down. Enjoy the Ravens and the Saints. Remember, it's Lamar Jackson. It's Isaiah Likely. It's Alvin Kamara. I think we're going to keep this one simple. Over 50 yards receiving for Kamara. Look for Likely and Justice Hill at the bottom of those IPO boards. So that'll do it. Appreciate you all. Please rate, review, and subscribe. You know, download the Jock Market app. That's where it's at. Follow along. Even if you don't play live money on the showdown slate, I fully recommend taking advantage of the promo. You follow along, and if you're rocking these penny stock sheets on the weekend, you're making money. Like, we're all making money because we're doing the work. We're kind of doing the work for you. So, hey, man, I guess that's what I do. I guess that's it, man. I wish I could go a little bit longer, but I'll see you on Thursday. I catch you on the flip side, and remember, when you work this hard, like when you really work this hard, it's always going to feel a lot less like luck, yo. Peace.